The war room was silent. Every general, every advisor, every soldier stood frozen as they watched the main screen. The image showed fire. It showed metal breaking apart. It showed the royal battleship turning into a ball of orange and white light. King could not move. His hands gripped the edge of the command table so hard that his blue skin turned pale. His golden eyes were wide open, but he did not blink. He could not blink. On that ship was his daughter, his only child, Princess. "Get me a connection," he said. His voice was quiet, too quiet. "Get me a connection to her ship, now." The communication officer's hands shook as he worked the controls. Lights flashed. Signals went out, but nothing came back. Only silence. Only the empty sound of space. "Your Majesty," the officer whispered, "there is no response. The ship is gone." King did not respond. He simply stared at the screen. The explosion was already fading. Pieces of metal floated in the darkness of space. Some pieces were still on fire. Others were too small to see. His daughter's ship, the Mighty, was now nothing more than dust and broken dreams. They had done this. The enemy fleet had ambushed them near the border. Princess had led the defense herself, as she always did. She was brave. She was strong. She was everything a future queen should be. And now she was gone. "Father." King could still hear her voice in his mind. That morning, before she left for battle, she had stood before him in her silver armor. Her dark hair was tied back. Her purple eyes, so much like her mother's, had been full of fire and determination. "I will return victorious," she had said, "though we'll learn to fear our empire." He had smiled at her then. He had placed his hand on her shoulder and told her to be careful. But he had not worried. Was the best pilot in the fleet. She had never lost a battle. She was unstoppable. But they had brought 3 times their normal forces. They had hidden ships behind asteroids. They had used new weapons that cut through shields like water through paper. By the time realized the trap, it was too late. "Your Majesty," General stepped forward. Her voice was gentle but firm. "We must retreat. They are advancing. If we stay here, we will lose more ships." King finally looked away from the screen. His eyes met the general's. In that moment, she saw something she had never seen before in her king. She saw emptiness. She saw a father who had just lost everything. "Send rescue ships," he said. "Search every piece of debris, find her." "Your Majesty," the explosion was too powerful. No one could survive. "Find her," the king's voice echoed through the war room. Everyone stepped back. The king never raised his voice. The king was always calm, always controlled, but not today. Today, he was just a father refusing to accept the truth. For 7 days, rescue ships searched the debris field. They found pieces of They found bodies of crew members. They found weapons, chairs, broken computers. But they did not find Princess. They did not find any sign that she had survived. On the 8th day, King stood alone in his daughter's room. Everything was exactly as she had left it. Her books were stacked on the desk. Her training weapons hung on the wall. A small plant from their home world sat by the window, its blue leaves reaching toward the artificial sunlight. He picked up a small picture frame from her nightstand. It showed the 2 of them many years ago when was just a child. She was sitting on his shoulders, laughing at something he had said. Her mother had taken that picture. Her mother, who had died when was only 10 years old. "I promised her I would protect you," he whispered to the picture. "I promised that nothing would ever hurt you." Tears fell from his golden eyes. They dropped onto the picture, onto the smiling face of his little girl. The girl who used to chase butterflies in the palace garden. The girl who would sneak into the kitchen for sweets. The girl who had grown into a warrior, a leader, a princess that the entire empire loved. The funeral was held 1 week later. Millions of citizens watched from their homes as the ceremony was broadcast across the empire. An empty coffin was placed in the royal tomb, beside the grave of the queen. There was no body to bury, but the ritual had to be completed. The princess had to be honored. King stood before his people and spoke of his daughter's courage. He spoke of her victories, her kindness, her love for the empire. He did not cry. A king could not cry in public, but inside his heart was breaking into 1,000 pieces. After the funeral, the war continued. The pushed forward, taking planet after planet. Without Princess leading the fleet, the Empire's forces struggled. Battles that should have been easy became difficult. Soldiers who had once fought with confidence now fought with fear. 1 year passed. The Empire built new ships and trained new soldiers. They pushed the back slowly but surely. King led from the throne room, making decisions, giving orders, doing his duty. But he was not the same. Everyone could see it. The fire in his eyes was gone. The passion in his voice was missing. He was alive, but part of him had died with his daughter. 2 years passed. The war finally ended. They signed a peace treaty and retreated to their own territory. The Empire celebrated, but King did not join the festivities. He sat alone in his daughter's room, holding the same picture frame, looking at the same smiling face. 3 years after the explosion, on the exact anniversary of her death, something strange happened. A signal appeared on the Empire's long-range sensors. It was weak, almost too weak to detect, but it was there, and it was using a code that only the royal family knew. The communication officer stared at his screen, unable to believe what he was seeing. He checked the signal again, then a third time. His hands began to shake. He ran to the throne room as fast as his legs could carry him. He burst through the doors, ignoring the guards who tried to stop him. He fell to his knees before the king, gasping for breath. "Your Majesty," he said, his voice trembling with excitement and fear. "We have received a signal, a royal signal. It is coming from a planet in the outer regions, a planet called Earth." King's heart stopped. For one long moment he forgot how to breathe. Then, for the first time in 3 years, a small light appeared in his golden eyes. "Prepare my ship," he said. "I am going to bring my daughter home." 3 years earlier, Princess opened her eyes to pain. Everything hurt. Her head, her arms, her chest. She tried to move, but her body refused to listen. Smoke filled her lungs, making her cough. Alarms screamed in her ears, loud and angry. She was in an escape pod. The small emergency ship had saved her life when they exploded. She remembered now, the attack, the fire, the explosion. She had reached the escape pod just in time, just barely in time. Through the cracked window of the pod, she saw something she did not recognize. Blue sky, white clouds, green land below. This was not space. This was a planet. The pod was falling fast toward the ground. Tried to reach the controls, but her arm was broken. Purple blood dripped from a wound on her forehead. Her vision was blurry. The ground was getting closer, closer. She closed her eyes and prepared for the end. The impact was terrible. Metal screamed as the pod hit the ground, was thrown forward, then backward. Then everything went black. When she woke again, it was night. Strange sounds filled the air. Insects making music. Wind moving through trees, and something else. Footsteps. Someone was coming. Tried to reach for her weapon, but she could not move. She was too weak, too hurt. All she could do was watch as a light appeared outside the broken pod. Someone was looking inside. Someone with strange, round eyes and pale skin. It was a human, knew about humans. Her empire had studied this planet from far away. They knew that humans were primitive. They had no space travel, no advanced technology. They were weak creatures fighting among themselves over small pieces of land. Her empire had decided they were not worth contacting. Not yet. The human said something but did not understand the language. It sounded strange, rough, nothing like the flowing words of her own tongue. The human looked scared. His hands were shaking, but he did not run away. Instead, he reached into the pod. He grabbed her arm gently and tried to pull her out. Wanted to fight, wanted to push him away, but she had no strength. She could only let this strange creature help her. The human's name was, though she would not learn this until later, He was a soldier, a young man of 24 years. He had been walking home through the forest when he saw the fire in the sky. He had followed the smoke to the crash site, expecting to find a plane or a helicopter. What he found was something from another world. Carried on his back through the dark forest, she was heavy, heavier than a human woman of her size would be. Her skin was blue, her blood was purple, and she had small ridges on her forehead that no human would have, but did not care. She was hurt. She needed help. That was all that mattered. His small house was hidden in the mountains, far from the nearest town. Had chosen to live alone after leaving the military. The war had broken something inside him. The things he had seen, the things he had done, they haunted his dreams. So he had run away, hiding in the wilderness where no one could find him. But now he had found someone else, someone who needed him. Woke up in a bed. It was small and simple, nothing like the royal beds of her palace. The room around her was made of wood. Sunlight came through a small window. Everything smelled different, strange, alien. She tried to sit up, but pain shot through her body. She gasped and fell back onto the pillow. Her arm was wrapped in white cloth. Her wounds were covered with some kind of paste. Someone had taken care of her. The door opened and the human walked in. He was carrying a bowl of something warm. Steam rose from it, filling the air with a smell that did not recognize. The human smiled at her. It was a kind smile, gentle and careful. He spoke again in that strange language, shook her head, showing that she did not understand. The human nodded slowly. He pointed at himself. He said, blinked, was that his name? She pointed at herself. She said. The human smiled wider. He repeated her name, though his pronunciation was not quite right. Then he held out the bowl to her. It was soup, she realized. Some kind of hot liquid with vegetables floating in it. Was hungry, so hungry that she forgot to be suspicious. She took the bowl and drank. The soup was good, warm and filling, different from the food of her world, but not bad. Days passed, then weeks, slowly healed, her arm mended, her wounds closed. She grew stronger with each passing day, and as she healed, she learned. Taught her his language word by word. He would point at things and say their names, tree, sky, water, food. She learned quickly. Her people were known for their intelligence and languages were not difficult for her. Soon she could speak in simple sentences, then in longer ones, then in full conversations. She learned about two. He had been a soldier in something called a Special Forces unit. He had fought in wars that did not understand, wars between different groups of humans. He did not like to talk about it. His eyes would go dark when she asked, and he would change the subject. But she could see the scars on his body, the long one across his back, the round ones on his shoulder and leg. He had been hurt many times. He had seen death many times. And yet, when he found her in that crashed pod, he had chosen to help instead of to fear. Why? Asked one evening. They were sitting outside his house, watching the sun set behind the mountains. Why did you help me? I am not human. I am different. I could be dangerous. Was quiet for a long moment. He looked at the sky, at the colors of orange and pink spreading across the clouds. Because you were hurt, he said finally, and because I was lonely. Did not know what to say. She had expected a complicated answer, a strategic reason, a selfish motivation. But this human had helped her simply because she was hurt and because he wanted company. It was so simple, so pure. On her world, such kindness would be seen as weakness. Her people believed in strength, in power, in winning at all costs. Helping a stranger, especially a stranger from another species, would be considered foolish, dangerous, a waste of resources. But did not think that way. He shared his food with her, even when he did not have much. He gave her his bed and slept on the floor. He taught her about his world, about its people, about its history. He never asked for anything in return. Months passed, tried to fix her escape pod, but the damage was too severe. Her communication equipment was destroyed. She had no way to contact her empire, no way to call for help. She was trapped on this primitive planet with only one human for company. But strangely, she did not mind. Life was simple but peaceful. They would wake with the sun. They would eat together, work together, talk together. He showed her how to grow vegetables in his garden. She taught him exercises from her military training. They became friends. One day, soldiers came to the mountain. Human soldiers with guns and helicopters. Someone in the nearby town had seen the crash. Someone had reported strange lights in the sky. The government had sent people to investigate. Hid in a cave behind his house. He covered the entrance with branches and rocks. Then he went out to meet the soldiers. He smiled and lied, telling them he had seen nothing. Just a meteor, probably. Nothing important. The soldiers searched his house. They searched the forest. But they did not find the cave. They did not find. After 3 days, they left, unsatisfied but empty-handed. Returned to the cave with food and water. Looked at him with new eyes. This human had risked everything for her. If the soldiers had found her, they would have arrested him. Maybe worse. But he had protected her anyway. "Thank you," she said. The words felt small, not enough for what he had done. Just smiled. "That is what friends do," he said. For the first time since the crash, smiled back. A real smile, full and warm. Maybe, she thought, these humans were not as primitive as her empire believed. Maybe they had something that her people had forgotten. Something important. Something called kindness. 1 year after the crash, stood on the edge of a cliff, looking at the valley below. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of gold and purple. On her home world, the sky was always silver. The sun was always white. She had never seen colors like this before coming to Earth. Behind her was building a fire. The nights were getting cold as winter approached. He had been teaching her about Earth seasons, how the planet tilted as it moved around its sun, how this made the weather change throughout the year. It was fascinating, really. On her planet, the temperature was always the same. "The fire is ready," called out. "Come warm yourself." Turned and walked back to him. Over the past year, her body had fully healed. She was strong again, fast again. She could run faster than any human, lift more weight than any human, see further than any human. In many ways, she was superior. Her species was more advanced. But in other ways, she was learning. Humans were stronger. Last month, a terrible storm had hit the mountains. Rain fell for 5 days without stopping. The river near his house flooded, destroying his vegetable garden. Months of work, gone in a single night. Had expected to be angry. On her world, such a loss would have caused great distress, but had simply looked at the ruined garden and shrugged. "We will plant again," he said. "The soil is still good, the seeds are still here, we will try again." And he did. The very next day after the rain stopped, he was back in the garden, digging new rows, planting new seeds, working from sunrise to sunset. Helped him, though she did not fully understand why he bothered. The winter would come soon. The new plants would die anyway. But planted them anyway. Not because he would harvest them, but because giving up was not in his nature. That was the moment truly understood something about humans. They did not survive because they were strong. They survived because they refused to stop trying. As the fire crackled between them, thought about her home. She thought about her father, the king. He must think she was dead by now. The funeral would have been held. Prayers would have been spoken. She imagined him sitting alone in her room, holding something she had left behind. "You miss your family," said. It was not a question. Nodded. "My father. I was all he had left after my mother died. I cannot imagine how he felt when my ship was destroyed." "You should try to contact him." "I have tried. My communication equipment is beyond repair. The technology on your planet is too primitive to reach across the stars." Poked the fire with a stick. Sparks flew up into the dark sky. Maybe there is another way, something we have not thought of yet. Appreciated his hope, but she knew the truth. She was stuck here, perhaps forever. Her life as a princess was over. Her life as a warrior was over. Now she was just living in a wooden house on a strange planet with a strange human who had somehow become her closest friend. Weeks passed. Winter came, covering the mountains in white snow, and spent most of their time inside, sitting by the fire talking for hours. He told her stories of his life, his childhood in a small town, his mother who had died when he was young, his father who had pushed him to be a soldier, the wars he had fought, the friends he had lost. "Why did you leave?" asked one night. "Why did you come to live alone in the mountains?" Was quiet for a long time. The fire made shadows dance across his face. When he finally spoke, his voice was soft. "I did things in the war," he said. "Terrible things, things I was ordered to do, things I cannot forget." He looked at his hands as if seeing blood that was no longer there. "I tried to return to normal life, but I could not. The faces of the people I killed, they followed me everywhere, in my dreams, in my waking hours. I could not escape them." "So you ran away?" "Yes, I ran away. I came here to the mountains hopping to find peace, hopping to forget." Reached out and took his hand. It was a gesture she had seen humans do, a gesture of comfort. His hand was warm in hers, rough from years of hard work. "On my world," she said, "warriors who cannot forget are honored. Their pain is proof that they have a good heart. Only monsters kill without feeling. You are not a monster. You are a soldier who was forced to do terrible things. The guilt you carry shows that you are good." Looked at her, his eyes were wet with tears he would not let fall. "How do you know that?" he asked. "Because a monster would not have saved me. A monster would not have hidden me from your soldiers. A monster would not have taught me your language, shared your food, given me your bed." She squeezed his hand. "You are the kindest person I have ever known, on any planet." That night something changed between them. The wall that had separated them, the wall between different species, different worlds, different lives, it began to crumble. They were no longer just alien and human. They were two lost souls who had found each other in the vastness of the universe. Spring came, and with it, new problems. More soldiers arrived in the area. They were searching the mountains more carefully this time. Helicopters flew overhead every day. Patrols walked through the forest every night. Someone somewhere had not forgotten about the strange lights that had fallen from the sky 3 years ago. Became more careful. He rarely left the house during the day. He kept the curtains closed. He made sure no smoke could be seen from the chimney, but it was not enough. One afternoon, while was gathering water from the stream, she heard voices. Human voices speaking in quick, urgent tones. She dropped the water container and ran back to the house, but she was too late. Soldiers surrounded the building. Was on his knees, hands behind his head. A tall man in a dark suit stood before him, asking questions. Could hear them from her hiding place behind a large rock. "We know you have been hiding something," the man said. "We have satellite images, heat signatures that do not match any known animal. Tell us where the alien is, and we will let you go." Said nothing. His face was calm, showing no fear. The man grew angry. He ordered his soldiers forward. They hit with their weapons, once, twice, 3 times. Blood appeared on his face. Still, he said nothing. Wanted to run out. She wanted to fight. She could take these soldiers easily. She was faster, stronger, better trained. But she knew that if she revealed herself, it would only make things worse. There would be more soldiers, more questions, more danger. So she watched. She watched as the man she cared about was beaten for protecting her. She watched as blood dripped from his nose and mouth. She watched as he refused to betray her, no matter how much pain they caused him. Finally, after what seemed like hours, the soldiers left. They had found nothing, had given them nothing. They warned him that they would return, then they disappeared into the forest. Ran to his side. He was lying on the ground, barely conscious. His face was swollen and bleeding. His ribs were probably broken. But when he saw her, he smiled. "You are safe," he whispered. "Good." Tears fell from his purple eyes. She had not cried since she was a child. Her people considered tears a weakness, but at that moment she did not care. "Why?" she asked, her voice breaking. "Why did you not tell them? You could have saved yourself so much pain." Coughed, then winced at the pain in his ribs. "Because you are my friend," he said, "and because I made a choice the night I found you. I chose to protect you. I will not stop now." Held him close, careful not to hurt him more. In that moment she made a promise to herself. No matter what happened, no matter how long it took, she would find a way to repay this human. This kind, brave, wonderful human who had given her everything. She did not know it yet, but she had fallen in love with him. And that love would change the fate of two worlds. 3 years after the crash, finally found a way to call home. It happened by accident, really. She had been taking apart old electronic devices that had collected over the years. Radios, televisions, computers. She did not expect to find anything useful. Human technology was so primitive compared to her own. But then she noticed something. The signals that humans sent through the air, the ones they used for communication, they followed the same basic principles as her own technology. The frequency was different. The power was much weaker, but the foundation was the same. If she could boost the signal enough, if she could adjust the frequency just right, she might be able to reach a passing ship. Her empire had scout vessels that traveled through this sector of space. If one happened to be close enough, it might detect her signal. It took 3 months to build the device, helped her gather the parts. He did not understand what she was building, but he trusted her. He always trusted her. On a cold winter night, activated the machine. She sent out a signal using the royal code, the secret code that only members of the royal family knew. Then she waited. Days passed, weeks passed, nothing happened. Began to lose hope. Perhaps no ships were in range. Perhaps the signal was too weak. Perhaps she would die on this planet, far from home, never seeing her father again. Then, on the anniversary of her crash, exactly 3 years to the day, something wonderful happened. The machine started to beep. Someone had received her signal. Someone was responding. "This is Scout Vessel 7, a voice said in her language. "Princess, is that you? Are you alive?" Grabbed the speaker with shaking hands. Yes, this is Princess. I am alive. I crashed on the planet called Earth. Please contact my father. Tell him I am coming home." The news spread across the empire like fire. The princess was alive. After 3 years of mourning, after 3 years of grief, Princess had returned from the dead. The people celebrated in the streets. Soldiers cheered on their ships. And in the royal palace, King fell to his knees and wept. A rescue fleet was sent immediately. 3 great warships, carrying the best soldiers in the empire, traveled at maximum speed toward the tiny blue planet called Earth. King himself led the mission. He would not trust anyone else to bring his daughter home. But there was a problem. Earth had noticed the alien ships approaching. Satellites detected them first, then radar systems, then telescopes. The human governments went into panic. Weapons were prepared. Armies were mobilized. The world held its breath, waiting for an invasion. "We should send a message," General suggested. "Tell them we mean no harm. We are only here for the princess." King shook his head. "We do not have time for diplomacy. Every moment we waste is a moment my daughter remains on that primitive rock. We go in, we get her, we leave. If the humans try to stop us, we will deal with them." The fleet entered Earth's atmosphere above the mountain region where signal had originated. Below, human military forces gathered. Jets flew in formation. Tanks rolled across the roads. Soldiers with weapons pointed at the sky, ready to fight. Watched from his window as the massive ships descended from the clouds. Her heart filled with joy and fear at the same time. Joy because her father had come for her. Fear because she knew what might happen if humans and her people started fighting. "You have to go," said from behind her. His voice was steady, but she could hear the sadness underneath. "Your father is here. Your people need you. You are a princess." Turned to face him. He was standing by the door holding a small bag. Inside were the few things he owned: clothes, books, a picture of his mother. He was ready to run, she realized. Ready to disappear into the wilderness again, hiding from his own people like he always did. "Come with me," she said. "Blink to what?" "Come with me to my world, to my home." She stepped toward him, taking his hands in hers. "You saved my life, you protected me. You taught me what kindness means. I cannot leave you here, I will not. But your father, your people, they will never accept me. I am just a human, a primitive creature from a backward planet." "You are not primitive." His voice was firm. "You are the bravest, kindest, most wonderful person I have ever known. I do not care what my people think. I want you to come with me, please." Before could answer, the door burst open. Human soldiers rushed in, weapons raised. They had finally found the hiding place. Behind them came men in dark suits, the same ones who had beaten before. "There she is," one of them shouted. "The alien, capture her." Soldiers moved forward, but they were too slow, moved faster than any human could follow. She grabbed and pulled him close. With her free hand, she pressed a button on her wrist. A small device, a gift from her father years ago, activated. A beam of light shot down from the sky, surrounding them both. They disappeared just as the soldiers reached for them. Moments later and stood on the bridge of the king's flagship. Soldiers gasped. Advisors stared. General nearly dropped her weapon. In the center of it all stood King, his golden eyes wide with shock and joy. He whispered, "My daughter." Let go of and ran to her father. She threw her arms around him, burying her face in his chest. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. There were no words for this reunion. No language could capture what they felt. When they finally separated, King looked at his daughter's face. She had changed. She was older now, stronger. There was something in her eyes that had not been there before, something soft, something human. Then his gaze moved to the man standing behind her. A human, small and weak compared to his own people, wearing simple clothes stained with dirt. His face was covered with scars and fresh bruises. He looked terrified but determined. "Who is this?" the king demanded. Stepped back, positioning herself between her father and, "This is. He saved my life. He protected me for 3 years. He is the reason I am alive today." The king studied the human. "He is injured. Those marks on his face are fresh. What happened?" "His own people did this to him. They wanted him to give me up, to tell them where I was hiding. He refused. He let them beat him rather than betray me." A murmur ran through the bridge. The soldiers and advisors exchanged glances. A human, refusing to betray an alien, suffering pain to protect someone from another world. It was hard to believe. King walked slowly toward. The human wanted to back away, could see it. Every instinct was telling him to run, but he stood his ground. He had faced death many times. He would not show fear now. The king stopped directly in front of. For a long moment he simply stared. Then, slowly, he spoke. "You protected my daughter, you suffered for her. Why?" Looked up at the massive alien king. His voice was quiet but clear. "Because she is my friend, and because it was the right thing to do." King was silent. The bridge was silent. The whole fleet seemed to hold its breath. Then slowly the king nodded. "You have courage, human, more courage than many warriors I have known." He turned to his daughter. "We will speak more of this when we return home. For now, take your human and rest. You have been through enough." As led away from the bridge, she glanced back at her father. He was watching them go, his face unreadable. She did not know what he was thinking. She did not know what would happen when they reached home, but she knew one thing for certain. She would not abandon, no matter what. The throne room of the royal palace was filled with the most powerful people in the empire. Generals who had won 100 battles. Advisors who had shaped the fate of 1,000 worlds. Nobles whose families had ruled for countless generations. They had all come to see the princess who had returned from the dead, and the strange creature she had brought with her. King sat upon his golden throne, watching as his daughter approached. She walked with the same confidence she had always shown, but there was something different about her now. A softness in her eyes, a gentleness in her step. 3 years among the humans had changed her. Behind her walked the human. He was dressed in simple clothes that had found for him on the ship. They did not fit well. Nothing on the ship was made for creatures of his size. He looked small and out of place among the tall, powerful aliens around him. But he walked with his head held high, refusing to show weakness. The crowd whispered as they passed. Some looked at with curiosity, others looked with disgust. A few looked with open hatred. Humans were primitive creatures. They had no place in the royal court. They had no place on this planet at all. Stopped at the foot of her father's throne and knelt, hesitated, then did the same. He did not know the customs of this world, but he knew how to show respect. "Rise," King said. His voice echoed through the great hall. "Both of you." They stood, looked into her father's eyes. She saw questions there, confusion, perhaps even anger. He had waited 3 years to see his daughter again. Now she was here, but she was not alone. She had brought a human into his palace, into his throne room. This was not what he had expected. "You have returned to us, my daughter," the king said. "For that I am grateful beyond words. But now you must explain. You must tell us what happened during those 3 years, and you must tell us why you brought this human to our world." Nodded. She had prepared for this moment during the long journey home. She knew what she wanted to say. She only hoped her father would listen. "3 years ago," she began, "my ship was destroyed by I escaped in an emergency pod, but I was badly injured. The pod crashed on a planet called Earth. I was dying, alone, helpless. I had no way to contact home. I had no way to save myself." She paused, gathering her thoughts. The hall was completely silent. Every eye was fixed upon her. "Then this human found me. His name is, he discovered my crashed pod in the forest. He saw that I was wounded. He saw that I was different, unlike any creature of his world. He had every reason to fear me. He had every reason to leave me to die. But he did not." She turned to look at. He stood still, his eyes forward, showing no emotion. But she knew him well enough to see the fear underneath. He was terrified. Surrounded by aliens in a palace bigger than any building on Earth, standing before a king who could destroy him with a single word. Yet he did not run. "Carried me on his back through the forest," continued. "He brought me to his home. He treated my wounds with the primitive medicine of his people. He gave me his food even when he was hungry. He gave me his bed while he slept on the floor. He taught me his language. He protected me from his own people when they came searching for me." General stepped forward. "Protected you? Why would humans search for you?" "They saw my pod crash from the sky. Their government sent soldiers to find me. If they had captured me, I do not know what they would have done. Studied me, perhaps. Imprisoned me, killed me." His voice grew hard. "But would not let them. When the soldiers came, he hid me. When they questioned him, he lied. When they beat him." Her voice cracked. She stopped, taking a deep breath. "When they beat him, he did not break. He could have ended his pain with a single word. He could have told them where I was hiding, but he refused. He let them hurt him again and again because he would not betray me." The hall erupted in murmurs. The nobles and generals exchanged glances. Such loyalty was rare among their own people. To find it in a human, a primitive creature from a backward planet, was almost impossible to believe. King raised his hand and the hall fell silent. He leaned forward on his throne, studying the human with new eyes. "Is this true, human?" he asked. "Did you truly suffer to protect my daughter?" Met the king's gaze. When he spoke, his voice was steady. "Yes, your majesty, it is true." "Why, what did you hope to gain?" Was quiet for a moment, then he shook his head. "I did not hope to gain anything. I protected her because she needed protection. I helped her because she needed help. That is all." "That is all?" The king seemed almost angry. You expect me to believe that you risked everything, suffered everything for nothing in return, no reward, no favor, no advantage. With respect, Your Majesty, yes. That is exactly what I expect you to believe, because it is the truth. King sat back on his throne. For a long moment he said nothing. The entire hall waited, barely breathing. Finally stepped forward again. Father, I know what you are thinking. You are thinking that humans are primitive, that they are weak, that they are beneath us. That is what I thought too before I lived among them. She began to walk slowly around the hall, addressing not just her father but everyone present. Her voice grew stronger with each word. Our empire is powerful. We have conquered countless worlds. Our ships can cross the galaxy in days. Our weapons can destroy planets. We are strong. We are advanced. We are mighty. She stopped and turned to face the throne. But we have forgotten something. Something that the humans still remember. Something that made save a dying alien instead of leaving her in the wreckage. And what is that? Her father asked. Kindness. The word hung in the air. Compassion. The simple desire to help another living creature, not because of what we might gain, but because it is the right thing to do. She walked back to stand beside. On Earth, I saw humans share their last piece of bread with strangers. I saw them risk their lives to save animals from floods. I saw them give their blood to heal people they had never met. They do these things not for reward, but because they care, because they feel the pain of others as if it were their own. Tears were forming in her eyes now, but she did not wipe them away. We have become so focused on power that we have forgotten what power is for. We conquer worlds, but we do not make them better. We defeat enemies, but we do not make friends. We have built an empire, but we have lost our hearts. She took his hand in hers. The crowd gasped. Such displays of affection were not common among their people, but did not care. This human taught me more in 3 years than I learned in my entire life in this palace. He taught me that strength is not just about winning battles. True strength is about protecting the weak, helping the lost, loving the unloved. She looked at her father, her eyes burning with conviction. I love him, Father. I know that is strange. I know it is unexpected, but I love him, and I believe that our empire needs what he represents. We need kindness. We need compassion. We need to remember that there is more to life than conquest and power. The hall was silent. Every noble, every general, every advisor was staring at the princess, and the human standing hand in hand before the throne. King slowly rose from his seat. He walked down the steps, his footsteps echoing in the quiet room. He stopped before, towering over the small human. Then, to everyone's shock, the king knelt. He went down on one knee, bringing himself to his level. You saved my daughter, he said quietly. You protected her when I could not. You suffered for her when I was not there. He bowed his head. I owe you a debt I can never repay. Looked at the kneeling king with wide eyes. He did not know what to say. He did not know what to do. All he could manage was a simple truth. I would do it all again, Your Majesty, without hesitation. King stood. He turned to face his court, his voice ringing through the hall. This human has shown more honor than many of our own warriors. He has proven that strength comes in many forms. Perhaps we have judged the humans too quickly. Perhaps they are not as primitive as we believed. He looked at his daughter, and for the first time in 3 years he smiled. Perhaps it is time we learned from them. The crowd erupted in cheers. Not everyone was happy, but enough were. The princess had returned. She had brought new ideas, and the empire would never be the same. That night, and stood on a balcony overlooking the glittering cities of her home world, she squeezed his hand. Are you ready for this? She asked. Living among aliens, being part of an empire that spans the stars. Looked at the strange sky, with its 2 moons and unfamiliar stars. Then he looked at her blue skin and purple eyes, at the woman who had become his entire world. I was ready, he said, from the moment I pulled you out of that crashed pod. And under the light of two moons, on a planet far from Earth, a human and a princess began their new life together. A life built not on power or conquest, but on something far more precious. A life built on love.